The United States just crossed a staggering milestone. Our national debt has soared past $37 trillion. To put that into perspective, that is more than the combined economies of the entire Eurozone and China. Let that sink in. We're no longer just talking about long-term fiscal challenges or abstract warnings about the future. We're living in the reality where America's debt is spiraling faster than ever before, and with it, the risks to our economy, our global standing, and our future are growing. In the past, we added $1 trillion in debt roughly every 2 years. Then it became every year, and right now it is happening every 5 months. How long can that be sustained? That is twice as fast as the average pace over the last 25 years. And we're not in a recession officially. We're not fighting a global war. We're not even in the depth of a pandemic anymore. So why is our debt still climbing like we're in a national emergency? The answer to that question is quite simple. We're making irresponsible fiscal choices. It's as simple as that. Our deficits, the yearly difference between what we spend and what we bring in, are hovering around 7% of GDP. And this is a level that has historically been reserved for times of true crisis, such as a war or a recession. At this pace, the United States will burn through the recent $5 trillion debt ceiling increase, by the way, the largest in history, in just 2 years. It is a troubling cycle. The more debt that we take on, the more interest we owe. And that interest cost, once a very small fraction of the federal budget, is now one of the largest expenses, second only to Social Security. Interest on national debt is hovering around $1 trillion per year, and it has already surpassed defense spending, veteran spending, and every single budget category except for Social Security. As interest grows, the government is able to afford less and less when it comes to spending on social programs, on social needs. And here's where it gets even more serious. As the government borrows more, that borrowing puts upward pressure on interest rates. That, of course, affects not just the federal government, but every single person in the United States, from families buying homes to businesses seeking loans. Higher interest rates mean higher costs for mortgages, for credit cards, for student loans, and every single credit facility. It also means less investment in the private sector because more capital is tied up in government bonds. So in essence, the debt is crowding out growth. At the same time, within the federal budget, we're spending more and more just to service that debt, meaning we have less money to invest in priorities like infrastructure, education, and national defense. It becomes a self-perpetuating loop. More debt leads to more interest, which leads to more borrowing, which leads to what? You guessed it, even more debt. It is a vicious cycle. And here's the scariest part. Despite all of this, Washington keeps making it worse. It's like a drug addict, quite literally just digging that hole deeper, unable to get out of that vicious cycle of harming herself or himself. The most recent budget reconciliation package added another $4 trillion to the deficit over the next decade. And the worst part is that that number could actually grow even more if temporary tax cuts are extended or if planned spending cuts are rolled back. This is not just unsustainable, as you can tell, it is completely reckless. There was a time when warnings about the national debt were dismissed as political noise or long-term speculation, but those days are over, they're long gone. The consequences are no longer theoretical at this point in time. All three major credit rating agencies have downgraded the United States credit outlook. That sends a message to the world, and that message is even the global financial system is starting to lose confidence in our ability to manage our finances. That's how bad it's become. Apparently, the fiscal threats are obvious to every single person in the world outside the United States, but Washington chooses to continue kicking the can down the road, hoping that the next election cycle will come and nobody will notice. But with that being said, it's quite clear that international lenders are watching, financial markets are watching, and more importantly, future generations are going to look back and probably realize that they have nothing to thank us for, as their economic foundation is being dismantled systematically. The truth is, we're at a crossroads. If we continue on this path, we risk undermining the very foundations of our economic stability. And yet, despite the danger, there is still time to act. Policymakers have a wide range of tools at their disposal right now. It's not like we can't do anything about it. We know these solutions. They're not easy and they require political will, but those solutions are well known. Of course, those solutions aren't politically popular, and therefore they're just going to be ignored because staying in office is far more important than solving this issue. Reforming entitlement programs, addressing outdated tax policies, reducing wasteful spending, and making smarter investments, those are all part of the solution, and those items are quite effective. But what's needed most at this point in time is, of course, leadership, and we know where we stand with that. Let's take a quick look back to see how fast this debt has grown. In the 2000s, we added $1 trillion every 24 months. In the 2010s, it was every 11 months, and right now in the 2020s, it is every 5 months. That's not just a trend, it is a red flag that everyone loves to ignore. At this rate, we're on track to pass $40 trillion within the next year or so. And once again, this is during a period of relative economic stability. Not war, not pandemic, just regular times, and yet the debt continues to balloon. Compare this to the post-World War II period. Back then, the national debt was indeed very high, but there was a plan in place. There was unity too. There was a shared recognition of the need for fiscal responsibility. Today, that urgency is clearly missing. It is gone. The longer we wait, the fewer options we will have. The interest we owe will continue to eat away at our budget. Global lenders may demand higher returns to offset the risks, and eventually we may be forced into painful austerity measures, and that could be not by choice, but by necessity. The United States is still the most powerful economy in the world. We still have the tools and the talent to turn this around, but at the same time, we see that the issue is being ignored routinely. But of course, the $37 trillion debt is more than just a number. It is a signal that the clock is ticking. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on the growing national debt. Are you concerned? What would you do if you were in office? Let me know in the comments below. This is a very challenging situation, and I would love to hear from all of you. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Also follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. I would love to see you there. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you back here soon. Bye for now.